Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. My name is Emma, and I've got Max with me today, and we're going to be talking about the buzz term of the moment and focusing in on agentic AI. But before I get to all the questions that I've got for you, Max, can you give everybody an introduction?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. First of all, thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be doing a podcast with you again, Emma. So for everybody to kind of get to know me, I'm Max Vermeir, Senior Director of AI Strategy and Product Marketing at ABBYY. And I've been in the tech space for a little over going on 11 or more years now. But in my heart and kidneys as well, I'm just a tech lover. So whenever I get the chance to talk about the subject or anything that's kind of up and coming about it, like the topic that we're going to talk about today, I'm just excited to do that.
I can honestly say I've never heard someone say that their kidneys are have passion for something.
I think that was
so
like
I like that.
a Flemish translation. So there's a Flemish proverb that says, I can feel it in like my heart and kidneys. But actually, I think in English, my heart and bones. So
yeah, heart and bones is in English, but I like the kidney translation. I think that adds some flair to it. So just to get us started, to make sure that everybody's on the same page with us as we kind of transition into the next stage of the conversation, can you get us started by talking about like what is an AI agent or agentic AI, and why is it like all around us right now all of a sudden?
Yeah, it definitely is the talk of the town. So, well, first of all, AI agents you got to see it as a next evolution in automation, right? The big difference between AI agents or agentic AI compared to traditional automation is that they're able to reason, learn, and also take action to achieve the specific goal that you've kind of set forth for them to go and execute. So, which is very different from traditional automation, which is very task specific. If you want to make a comparison, I'd say that AI agents are adaptive, like C-3PO, for example, from Star Wars, able to navigate complex tasks, speak a billion languages, interact with humans, and kind of respond dynamically. But that is also something that makes them a little bit more complex to actually work with. Now, the thing that makes an agent kind of stand out is that they work dynamically. So that's one of the key things in the whole system. So it's not a rigid automation system. So it's not preset in terms of how it's going to execute a certain automation or a certain task. The key components are, most of all, memory. So they're able to memorize certain things about the process or the task that you've given them, analyze your input. So this is powered by large language models, obviously. And they were able to adjust their strategies based on inputs that are coming in. So even if an agent is doing a task for the thousands of amounts of time, the 1001 time is actually going to get new input, and the process has changed, or some of the parameters have changed, is going to adjust itself automatically. You can really kind of compare it to a chatbot that's just linking to a frequently asked question as a response to his particular customer question, where an AI agent is able to actually take all of that input and answer in a very detailed kind of fashion and escalate, for example, an unresolved issue as part of the actual conversation with the customer. And most of all, it's going to be able to learn, thanks to its memory, from past use cases that it's seen before and how the customer interaction went that time. But I think, Emma, your main question is definitely, why is everybody buzzing around AI agents right now? And I would definitely say that for me, it feels like it's one of the ways that people currently see, and also the market has been looking for a long time, is how do I make practical use of some of the advancements that we've seen with large language models? The whole Gen AI hype cycle has come and gone. It went quite fast. But that also means that people are like, okay, what do I now actually do with this? We've seen some successes, but nonetheless, real true business impact coming from Gen AI across the board. So there's different places where it's been excellent, but across the board, it's been kind of difficult to get a very good ROI. So I think that's why we're hearing a lot about AI agents right now, because they're definitely going to have an impact on more end-to-end workflows instead of point solutions. Customer interactions, decision-making, all of that is kind of fueled by the capabilities that these types of technologies offer. Now, it's also important
I was ready to ask you though, real quick.
Go ahead.
we're talking about all of these components that are tied to like actually being able to recognize some of the value tied to the hype that we've been seeing.
Yep.
And as we like start to look though towards the headlines and how much is coming at us in terms of hearing all about the AI agents and the advancements that we're going to make like this, it feels awfully hypey still. And so how much of this actual recognition of the value are we going to see, or how much are we going to continue to see? And I think you called it agent washing as we continue to kind of look at things moving forward.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of that, right? So just like we had greenwashing, we had AI washing, which we've just gotten over with, and now we've got agent washing. The thing is that the interesting bit is there's a lot of hype being created around it, and I think you're absolutely right. But I am much more hopeful for this technology to actually have a big impact compared to what I was about just Gen AI in general. That was a cool thing, and it had its applications. And I say that specifically the word applications because when you insert it into kind of use cases, technology platforms, it empowers them. But agents is kind of a different thing. Now, I will agree that there's a lot of agent washing going on right now, simply because it's the talk of the town. It is the thing that people are looking for. And again, it's coming from that practical use. But the interesting thing is that just like with the previous hype cycle, BCG reported that, for example, if I'm not mistaken, 61% of companies are experimenting with AI agents, and 21% are actually not using them because they're citing the lack of reliability as a concern. So I think that's also where the agent washing, the education, the kind of process that we're going through again with the hype, is that a lot of vendors are kind of obscuring away some of the complexities that come with that, which is basically processes within organizations are messy, and the chances that agents will understand those is kind of slim. So the other side is data, still a big topic for any organization to be able to leverage that properly and have that all structured. And thirdly, if you think about agents and you think about the autonomy part that they have, or that's kind of like the big thing, they're able to be autonomous, to make decisions. If you think about highly regulated organizations, which is in most cases a lot of them, even just basic regulatory compliance, is not something that an agent understands by default. So having those guardrails is also additional complexity that comes with trying to make agents something productive within your organization.
So let's talk a little bit more then about, you gave us a teaser of some of the considerations that we need to make to actually get the value out of this. But let's talk through what are some of those things that we need to be considering, especially like at an enterprise level, to bring in agentic AI in a meaningful way within our organizations.
Well, I think just the realization that agentic AI isn't just plug and play, right? I think that's the most important thing to understand. Just like everything else in terms of technology, there's not one size fits all. You have to assemble the Lego blocks correctly so that you can go for an amazing car afterwards. And this is exactly the same with this technology. One of the main foundations that I will definitely recommend anybody to look at if you're trying to go for approaching agentic AI as one of the components that you want to work with in an organization is data. So an AI is only as good as the data that it ingests. It's its fuel. So anything that's outdated, unstructured, it's not going to work. So that's where, for example, intelligent document processing to help you clean up all of your knowledge bases, help you clean up your entire archive to actually help AI make better decisions and better understanding of it is one of the key components. The second one, if I had to pick like my top three, which is what I'll probably go for, is transparency and definitely also the ethics side of it. So you have to kind of put that in there from the start. People immediately start thinking about ethics, transparency, sci-fi nightmares, Skynet, Hell 9000. It's not going to happen like that. But you definitely want to make sure that when you are implementing a technology that is able to make decisions and figure out how it's going to find a solution to the problem that you've given it, is that you have guardrails for it. And this is something you can do with process intelligence, for example. So you can have that reporting, and you can also have the AI compliance reporting that you're looking for, because this is something that is, across the world is coming more and more into effect in the next couple of years. And you're going to be asked these questions by your customers as to how is this AI working? How are these decisions made? And is this not creating any kind of bias in any way, so that I would have gotten a different outcome for the decision that it's made if it were been kind of evaluated by a human? And then maybe the last one, I have such a long list, but I promised to only pick three. I would say that it's all about the integration. I know I kind of said that at the start, but it really is about not having just any type of AI as a lone gunslinger. It has to integrate with your ERP or CRM tools, automation tools from before. RPA are just as important. Other tools like IDP and process intelligence are now becoming even more important than they were within the intelligent automation space, if you're talking about agentic. So having that ability to understand the full landscape and then apply the technologies that you need at the right use cases is always going to be the thing that is going to be most important. And sometimes, it's kind of like what Obi-Wan Kenobi said, you got to go with your instincts to kind of validate, is this the right tool that I want to use for this particular automation or this particular business process?
Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit of the passion of you and your kidneys with us and helping us kind of talk through what is hype, where is the actual kind of like rubber meeting the road for real value that we can start to recognize over the next couple of months. For everybody that watched, thank you for joining us, and make sure that you follow Max on LinkedIn and get connected there so that you can keep up to date with his podcast as well. But thank you again for joining me, and have a wonderful day, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. If you like what you saw, be sure to come back on a weekly basis and subscribe for more expert interviews focused on digital transformation, change management, and emerging technologies.